The lawyer cleared his throat, looked me right in the eyes, and said the words, "I'll never forget. Your father has left you nothing." My brothers gasped. Their wives tried to hide their smirks. My stepmother stared at her perfect manicure like this was just another Tuesday. Then the lawyer read the next line from the will, the one my father wrote just for me. To my youngest son, the one who never amounted to anything, I leave no money. He was and remains worthless. Everyone went silent. No one looked at me. On the table in front of us, the number $46 million glowed from the printed document. All of it went to my brothers. I got a single word: worthless. And that should have been the end of it. Just another moment where my father proved what he thought of me. But 20 minutes later, my aunt quietly slipped an old yellowing envelope into my hand and whispered, "Your mother wanted you to have this. She wrote it 20 years ago and made me promise to give it to you when your father died." That's when I realized my mother knew this day would come, and she knew something my father never wanted me to hear. My name is Austin Reed. I'm 44 years old, and I live in Phoenix, Arizona. My father died 3 weeks ago. He left my brothers $46 million. He left me nothing. Or at least, that's what I thought until my mother's 20-year-old letters showed up in my hands. The conference room smelled like old paper and expensive cologne. Floor-to-ceiling windows looked out over downtown Phoenix. Tall buildings, endless sun, a city my father loved because it reflected him. Loud, harsh, unforgiving. My oldest brother Ryan sat at the end of the table in a tailored suit, confident, relaxed. He ran Dad's real estate empire. He was everything my father wanted in a son: ruthless, ambitious, cold. Next to him was Josh, the middle brother, Dad's number guy. He did the books, handled investments, made the fortune multiply. And then there was me, the mistake, the disappointment, the artist, the teacher, the one who never fit his definition of success. I sat at the far end, in a chair that felt too big and too small at the same time. The lawyer, Mr. Wallace, was an older man with kind eyes and the type of voice that sounded like it had delivered a lot of bad news in expensive rooms. He shuffled the papers. "As per your father's final will and testament." His voice faded in my ears as my eyes fell on the number. $46 million. Dad really did it. He really turned all those apartment complexes, malls, storage lots, and office buildings into a mountain of money. And now he was about to decide who got what. Ryan smirked at me from across the table. "Don't look so nervous, little brother," he said. "You never wanted any part of the business anyway." Josh snorted. "Yeah, you're too busy changing lives with your— what is it? High school art class?" I didn't respond. I'd heard versions of that sentence my whole life. The lawyer began. "To my eldest son, Ryan Reed, I leave the controlling interest in Reed Properties, valued at $32 million. Ryan leaned back, satisfied. To my middle son, Joshua Reed, I leave full ownership of my investment portfolio and remaining real estate holdings, valued at $14 million. Josh's jaw tightened, but he nodded. He got less than Ryan, and that would burn him later. But right now, he was too busy enjoying the moment. Then Wallace hesitated. His eyes lifted toward me. "And to my youngest son," he swallowed, "I'm required to read this exactly as written." He adjusted his glasses. My chest tightened. Here it came. "To my youngest son, Austin, who chose to waste his gifts and ignore opportunity, who contributed nothing to this family's legacy, who never understood the value of money, I leave no financial assets. He has earned nothing and deserves nothing. He is in all regards worthless." The word hit me harder than I expected, not because I hadn't heard it before. I'd heard it from him, in different versions, different tones, softly, coldly, drunk, sober. But this time it was in ink, permanent, legal, forever. Ryan looked away, suddenly uncomfortable. Josh stared at the table. No one laughed. No one defended me either. The silence wasn't kind, it was cowardly. Wallace cleared his throat. There is one more thing. Everyone looked up. Your father established a small trust in your name, Austin, he added quickly. Not money, just a storage rental unit in South Phoenix. It's nominal. Likely old junk, but legally it is in your name. Ryan shrugged. Sounds about right, he muttered. Josh smirked. Congrats, you got Dad's trash. I didn't say anything. If I opened my mouth, I wasn't sure if words or rage would come out. Wallace closed the folder. This concludes the reading of the will. Just like that. Ryan shook Wallace's hand like they'd just closed another deal. Josh started texting someone immediately. Plans, money, power. Meanwhile, I just sat there, that one word echoing in my head. Worthless. As everyone began filing out of the room, my father's sister, my Aunt Maggie, touched my arm. Stay for a second, she whispered. Her eyes were glossy, but not from grief, from something else. Guilt. The room emptied, door shut. It was just me, Aunt Maggie, and the weight of an entire life lived in second place. She reached into her bag and pulled out an old yellow envelope. The edges were frayed. The paper had darkened with age. My name was written on the front in familiar handwriting, slanted, soft. My mother's. My throat tightened. Maggie, what is this? She swallowed. Your mother gave this to me 20 years ago, she said quietly, on the night before her surgery. Mom had died during a routine operation when I was 24, a heart procedure that was supposed to be simple. She never came home. I promised her, Maggie continued, that I wouldn't give you this letter until your father was gone. I blinked. What? Why? She was afraid, Maggie whispered. Not of you, of him, and of what would happen if he knew what she wrote. My pulse picked up. Maggie, what did she write? She shook her head. That's between you and her now. She closed my fingers around the envelope. But I will tell you this. Your mother never, not for 1 second, believed you were worthless. And if you read that letter, you'll finally understand why your father fought you so hard. The room felt like it tilted. What do you mean, fought me? Maggie squeezed my hand. Your father wasn't trying to punish a failure, Austin, she said softly. He was trying to erase a truth. I stared down at the envelope. Mom's handwriting. My name. 20 years of waiting. Read it when you're alone, Maggie whispered. And be prepared. It changes everything. That night, I sat alone in my tiny apartment, the will still echoing in my head, the words still burning in my chest. Worthless. The envelope sat in front of me on the table. My hands shook as I slid a finger under the flap. The paper crackled. I unfolded the letter. My mother's words stared back at me. My dear Austin, if you are reading this, it means your father is finally gone, and I can finally tell you the truth. I stopped breathing. Because right there, in the very first line, my mother hinted that the story I'd been living my whole life was a lie. I stared at the first sentence for a long time. If you are reading this, it means your father is finally gone, and I can finally tell you the truth. Finally gone. The words hit harder than I expected. My mother was gentle, soft-spoken, the kind of woman who apologized when strangers bumped into her. She never spoke badly of anyone, not even my father. But the tone of this letter, it wasn't fear, it wasn't sadness, it was urgency. I kept reading. Austin, I know how your father treated you. I know what he said, and I know the damage it caused. I'm so sorry you had to carry that alone. My throat tightened. Mom had seen everything. The put-downs, the dismissals, the way Dad praised my brothers for breathing and criticized me for trying. But the next lines felt like ice sliding down my spine. Your father's anger toward you has nothing to do with who you are, and everything to do with what he did. What he did? I blinked, rereading that line. What had Dad done? I turned the page. You deserve to know the truth about your birth. I wanted to tell you years ago, but your father forbade it, and I couldn't risk what he might do. My heart skipped. Birth? Risk? What was she saying? I leaned forward, gripping the paper harder. Austin, your father is not your biological father. I froze. The room spun. No, no, that couldn't be right. But the words glared back at me. Simple, clear, unmistakable. I wasn't his son, not by blood. I kept reading, breath shallow. I made a mistake before I married your father. I fell in love with someone else. Someone kind. Someone gentle. Someone your father despised. My pulse hammered in my ears. Mom had been with someone before Dad, someone she loved, someone he hated. His name was Benjamin Hart, a name I had never heard in my life. Ben was the one man your father could never measure up to. He was everything your father was not. Patient, wise, warm, and honest. I swallowed hard. I was carrying you when your father proposed to me. I told him the truth. He claimed he forgave me. He did not. My stomach tightened painfully. When you were born, the first words your father said were, "He's not mine." From that moment forward, he vowed to make you pay for a sin that was never yours. I dropped the page onto the table. My chest hurt. My eyes stung. All those years, all those insults, all the times he compared me to my brothers, all the times he said I didn't belong. He wasn't attacking a weak son. He was attacking a reminder. A reminder that my mother once loved someone more than him. A reminder that I wasn't his. I picked the letter up again. Your brothers don't know. No one knows. Only your father and I. And now, you. I stopped breathing for a moment. Austin, your father didn't leave you out of the will because he believed you were worthless. He left you out because he was terrified the world would discover that you were never his heir. Each word felt like a punch. His empire, his legacy. He built it with an obsession for control, but you were the one thing he could never control. My hands shook. Everything made sense now. Why he never hugged me, why he never encouraged me, why he called me weak, lazy, stupid, different, why I always felt like a stranger in my own home. I wasn't his son, and he hated me for it. I kept reading, breath unsteady. Austin, I kept something for you. Something of Ben's. Something your father would have burned if he ever found it. My heart thudded. It's in the old storage unit on Fifth Avenue. The one in your name. Your father never realized what was inside. He thought it was worthless, just like he thought you were. My eyes widened. The storage unit, the thing the lawyer brushed off. The one full of old junk. It wasn't junk. Mom left something there. Something my father never discovered. I kept reading. Inside the unit is a small wooden box with Ben's initials. BH. Inside the box is everything you need to know about who you really are and why your father feared you. Feared me? Why would he fear me? The next line answered it. Ben didn't just love me. He was a far better man than your father ever hoped to be. You are your true father's son, and his legacy is now yours. Legacy? What legacy? Before I could process that, the letter ended. Go to the storage unit, find the box, and please, Austin, forgive yourself for believing your father's lies. You were never worthless. You were never his mistake. You were the best part of my life. I sat there in silence, shaking. Everything inside me felt like it had been torn open. I wasn't worthless. I wasn't unwanted. I wasn't broken. I was someone else's son. Someone Mom loved. Someone Dad hated. Someone Dad feared. But why fear? What was in that box? And what legacy had Ben left behind that Dad spent decades trying to bury? There was only one way to find out. I grabbed my keys, wiped my face, and headed for the door. It was time to open that storage unit and uncover the truth my father tried so hard to erase. The storage facility sat at the edge of downtown, quiet, empty, lit only by buzzing fluorescent strips. Unit 5C. My hands trembled as I unlocked it. The metal door screeched upward, dust swirling in the cold air. Inside were old boxes, broken furniture, and one object sitting dead center. A small wooden box with the initials BH carved into the lid. Ben Hart, my real father. I knelt down, heart pounding in my throat, and opened it. Inside the box were a worn leather journal, a sealed envelope, a folded document with a corporate logo, a photograph of a man holding a newborn baby, and a ring. A gold ring with the inscription, "To my son." My breath caught. I'd never seen this man before, but his eyes, his smile, it felt like looking into a mirror I never had. I grabbed the leather journal first. The handwriting was rough, urgent. If she's reading this, it means I've run out of time. And if you're reading this, it means you survived your father's anger. Survived? I turned the page. I worked for the Reed Company. I discovered financial crimes your father orchestrated. When I tried to expose it, he destroyed my life. A chill tore through me. Your mother was the only good thing I had left. When she told me she was pregnant with you, I knew I had to disappear to protect you both. The next line made my blood run cold. Your father didn't hate you, Austin. He feared you. Because one day, you'd discover the truth and take back everything he stole. Everything he stole? Then I saw the folded document. I opened it carefully. My heart stopped. It was a legal ownership record of a company, signed by Ben Hart, and the signature line for rightful heir was blank, waiting for me. I stared at the ownership document, my pulse deafening. Ben Hart hadn't just been my real father. He'd been someone important, someone powerful, someone my father needed erased until now. At the bottom of the page, the final line shook me. Upon my death, full transfer of ownership to my biological son, Austin Hart. Hart, my real last name. For a moment, I couldn't breathe. Ben had owned a company, not just any company, but the original holdings that later became my father's empire, and Dad had stolen them. Not metaphorically, not emotionally, legally. He built the Reed fortune on top of a company that didn't belong to him. That $46 million, those properties, those investments, they existed because of Ben, because of my real father, because of me. And Dad knew it. That was why he hated me, why he called me worthless, why he tried to erase my existence, because I wasn't just the son of the man he despised most. I was the heir who could expose everything. I wiped my face, closed the box gently, and stood up taller than I had in years. I finally understood what Mom meant by, "Your father feared you." He feared this truth, and now, this truth was mine. The next morning, Ryan and Josh were already fighting over portfolios and inheritance distributions. When I walked into the conference room, they barely glanced at me. Josh scoffed, "What are you doing here? You didn't get anything." I placed the wooden box on the table. "Actually, I got everything that matters." Ryan rolled his eyes. "What, Dad's old junk? Congrats." I opened the box and slid the ownership document toward them. Their faces drained of color. "What? What is this?" Ryan stammered. Josh snatched it, eyes wide. "This is fake. It has to be fake." "It's not," I said calmly. "And your father knew that." Josh's jaw clenched. "Why would Dad hide this?" "Because the company he built," I said quietly, "wasn't his." Their eyes snapped to me. "What?" Ryan whispered. "It was stolen," I said, "from the man Mom loved before she married Dad." I placed the photo on the table. A man named Ben Hart. Ryan staggered backward. "Are you telling me?" "Yes," I said. "I'm not Dad's biological son." Josh sat heavily in his chair. "And this company, all of it, it belonged to him?" "Yes." "And now," I held up the document, "it belongs to me." They stared at me like they were seeing a ghost, or a threat. Ryan finally spoke, voice trembling with something I'd never heard from him before. Fear. "What are you going to do?" I looked at the photo of Ben holding a newborn me, and for the first time in my entire life, I felt something I had never felt before. belonging. I'm going to restore the truth, I said, and Mom's memory, and Ben's legacy. Josh swallowed. You're taking everything? I shook my head. No, I'm taking what's mine. The rest stays with the company, the employees, the future, not with Dad's lies. They both stared at me, speechless. Then Ryan whispered, Dad was wrong about you. I exhaled slowly. No, I said softly. He was lying, because the truth scared him. That night, I placed Ben's ring on my finger. For the first time, it felt like something fit. I wasn't worthless. I wasn't a mistake. I wasn't forgotten. I was found. I was a son. I was an heir. And the truth my mother protected for 20 years finally set me free. Worthless? No. I was never worthless. I was the one thing my father could never control. The truth.